Man, what is happening, my YouTube family? Of course, it is your boy B New. I'm coming at you on this Tuesday morning. First and foremost, as always, just want to give everybody positive blessings and vibrations, and I hope that everybody have a wonderful day. Now, with all that being said, I know a lot of y'all may have been wondering where I've been, but you know, as my shirt kind of say, which I didn't even plan this, y'all. I just so happened to look down at this and see I've been offline. You understand what I'm saying? Just taking a break from some things, and been really busy, you know, with my job and other things like that. So with all that being said, we know that the basketball season is getting closer. We had a couple of preseason games, and we won't really get into a lot of details on that because we know it's the NBA, it's the preseason. It doesn't mean a whole lot. But what I really like to get into as we've been getting closer to the season is something I've been saying I was going to do for a long time. And it's funny because somebody left a comment yesterday, and I apologize if I don't remember who it was at the time off the top of my head, but was asking, oh man, no new videos? And it's crazy that they were saying that because I was taking a little break and I was actually making a list of the top 30 best NBA players of all time when they said that. So, you know, maybe that little psychic power vibrations was going on or something like that. I don't know, but it's funny that they mentioned that. So like I said, here I am. So what I would like to do is, because it's going to take quite some time, you know, I don't want to put it in one show. So what I want to do is just do a countdown of the top 30 best players in NBA history so far. I know we had a top 50 list and things like that, but that would take a lot of time. And like I said before, this is something that I just didn't throw together. I put a little bit of time into it, not a whole lot, but just enough to where, you know, I felt like it is a very valid list and can probably stand up to anybody's list. So today, I'm probably just gonna go 30 through 25. And we may go a little bit longer depending on how much time we have, but I just want to go 30 through 25. And before I jump into it, I do want to give an honorable mention for those who didn't even make the list. And I know it's probably going to upset some of you. I'm pretty sure a lot of you are some of the ones that I did leave off the top 30 list. But one of the ones is most notably, of course, is Elgin Baylor. Elgin Baylor, you know, a great Laker. You know, he was in the reserves and would still come play during the season. That's how great of an athlete that he was. You know, and he is one of the greatest, you know, in the history of the Los Angeles Lakers. But at the end of the day, you know, he just didn't make my top 30 list. But I do want to give him an honorable mention because he would definitely be up there, and I would say the top 35 if I was doing a top 35 list. But hell, you got to stop somewhere. So Elgin Baylor, shout outs to you. Somebody else who didn't make the list, Kawhi Leonard. Kawhi Leonard still has some career left to go. There's a possible chance he could make the top 30 list, but as of right now, I can't think of anybody who I have on my top 30 list right now who would need to come off and be replaced by Kawhi Leonard. I'm sorry, and it's just, my list is based off of overall, you know, your body of work. As well as the greatest basketball player you are, the competitive nature, what you bring to the table. And I get into all that as we go through the list. But as I said, no Kawhi Leonard. And probably that's going to be the most surprising to all of you who did not make the top 30 on my list is a Carmelo Anthony. And as great as Carmelo is, you know, he doesn't have any NBA hardware to show for it. A lot of times I think he took the money. Rather than, you know, having a successful team. And he had some chances and opportunities because he's had some decent teammates, especially in Allen Iverson. And you think what they could have done in Denver, but was not to be. But at the end of the day, he's in the top 10 scoring. So definitely a great player. And we're going to talk about longevity and all that kind of stuff too. But at the end of the day, you know, and he still may get some hardware with LeBron, which I'm predicting that he will. It just depends on how much, you know, how much he contributes to a championship, which hopefully it is a lot, you know, when he's needed. But at the end of the day, as of right now, he is not in my top 30 list. Carmelo is like a Dan Izzo. And a lot of you youngsters who watching, I know, never even probably heard of Dan Izzo. But Dan Izzo is like top 10 or 11 in scoring all time in the NBA. He played through the 70s. But guess what? He never played for a great team. He never won a championship. And he scored a lot of points over his 17, 18 years in the NBA, but he never did anything noteworthy. So he didn't go down in history as one of the greatest of all time, even though people say, man, Dan Issel will give you them young buckets. Do you understand me? So if you hadn't heard about Dan Issel, go look him up. I'd even throw him an honorable mention, but at the end of the day, that's where they belong, off of my top 30. So let's do it like this. I had some tough time doing this, starting at the 30 spot. So let's just jump right into it. And I'm just going to be honest, between the 30, the 29, and the 28 spot, you could probably interchange these three because they were damn near on the same level as far as what they bring to the table, as far as, scoring prowess, defensive presence, what they bring to a team as far as leadership. But I ranked them, accordingly to me. So let's just get right into it. At number 30, we have the great Ray Allen. Ray Allen was a great player by all means. I know a lot of you might only remember him in the Boston days and his days with Miami, but let's just remember Ray Allen was a great player with Milwaukee and was pretty much a primary scoring option, and led those Milwaukee teams in his early years. And matter of fact, while he was in Milwaukee, like Ray Allen for his career only averaged 19 points, 3.5 assists, and 4 rebounds a game, right? So, but if you think in his Milwaukee days, he was averaging 20 points a game as the leader of the team. But in his Seattle days, when he finally just hit his prime and, had the great teams with Rashard Lewis, taking them to the playoffs, each year, advancing as far as the semi-conference finals, but just dealing with a tough Western Conference at the time, because we all know how great the Western Conference was during those years and still is now. Him and Rashard Lewis ultimately weren't able to get to a finals, but they competed every year and was a very tough out for somebody. And Ray Allen during that time in Seattle was averaging 25 points a game. So, by the time he got to Boston, he was only averaging 17 points a game, but that was because he also had to share the ball with Paul Pierce and also had to share the ball, of course, with Kevin Garnett. So, his shot selection went down, but as we all know, Ray Allen stepped up very big, in the finals in 2008. He broke the record at the time. That was actually Michael Jordan record for the most threes in one game. I think Jordan had hit 6 in the game, and Ray Allen hit 7 in that game to close out the Lakers, I think 4-2, and closed out those Lakers. And Ray Allen stepped up big, and Paul Pierce actually got the finals MVP in that. And I think it actually could have went both ways. I think you could have went with Paul. Or I think you could have went with Ray Allen. But actually, it went to Paul Pierce, who had a hell of a series as well, and of course did his thing, playing on the defensive end as well. So with that being said, Ray Allen, he played 18 years in the league. He did have 10 All-Stars. He was a 2-time champion. We know about one of the greatest shots of all time that he hit in Miami, which everybody, of course, all the LeBron haters want to give Ray Allen sole credit for that series and not remember Game 7 and what LeBron did, and not remember the 14 points that LeBron had scored in that fourth quarter and the 3 that LeBron had hit before the Ray Allen 3. People tend to forget all that, but at the end of the day, without that 3, that game wouldn't have been sent into the overtime. And we know what happened in overtime. It was LeBron James in Game 6 and 7, but I digress on that. So at the end of the day, we know Ray Allen was a hell of a player. 10-time, like I said, 10-time All-Star. Even a 3-point contest winner, if I'm not mistaken, 3-point contest winner. Like I said, he hit those 7 threes to close out the Lakers in a clutch performance. And let's not mention he is top 25 all-time in scoring. So you got to think all the players that's come through the history of the association to think that he ranks 25th all-time in scoring. That is tremendous. That is tremendous. So shouts out to Ray Allen at number 30. So now we got to go ahead and move into number 29. So number 29 is, and like I said, some of these is a little bit interchangeable. So lo and behold, what do we have here? Number 29, Paul Pierce. Paul Pierce for his career gave you 20 points per game, 4 assists and 6 rebounds a game. But let's not forget that Paul Pierce during his Boston years. You got to realize some of those averages went down dramatically from when he played with the Brooklyn Nets and the Los Angeles Clippers, as well as the year he had with Washington. So if you look at it as a whole, his years with Boston, he averaged 22 points a game. And that Boston team was pretty good throughout the beginning of the early 2000s when he was paired with Antoine Walker. But they just never had all the pieces to put it together just to have a great team. And I would say that was the ultimate downfall of them. And you can see once Paul Pierce actually got some real help in a Ray Allen and a Kevin Garnett, that they were able to, I think they could have won 3 championships. I think they could have went to 3 championships in a row. When they first got together the first year, they won the championship the first year that they were together, and they pretty much dismantled the Lakers. But then on the next year, if I'm not mistaken, KG gets injured and goes down. KG gets injured and goes down in the playoffs, and ultimately Orlando wins Eastern Conference, and the Lakers beat Orlando. But then that following year, I think is when they came back against the Lakers and played in those 2010 finals, if I'm not mistaken, that went to 7 games. And the Celtics could have easily won that. Kendrick Perkins, I know a lot of people like to roast Big Perk, but Big Perk was, and even Kobe would say it, was one of the best defensive big men in the game back then. And by him having that knee injury and not being able to sustain himself and playing Game 7 was ultimately, I think, is what was the tiebreaker as far as that Game 7, because we all know Kobe didn't have a great series that series if you go back and look at his numbers, but he was ultimately the finals MVP because that's who won the game. But if Boston had won that series, then I'm thinking Paul Pierce would have had him 2 final MVPs, and maybe people would look at Paul Pierce in a different light, because I don't think Paul Pierce actually gets the credit that he deserves. And the playoff series that he had against LeBron when LeBron was in Cleveland and when LeBron was in Miami was epic. The way they went back and forth, and Shaq dubbed Paul Pierce the Truth a long time ago, and dubbed him the Truth for a reason. And you got to realize he is an NBA champion. He is an NBA Finals MVP, and that's what made me put him over Ray Allen, just because Ray Allen doesn't have the NBA Finals MVP. But their careers are damn near interchangeable. And I did want to mention something that I forgot as far as Ray Allen. Ray Allen is still the all-time the all-time NBA player with the most 3-points ever made at over 2,900. But Steph Curry is at 2,800 and probably going to be breaking that record very soon. But you got to think, they didn't even take the amount of threes that they take nowadays, and that's a lot in part to Steph Curry and what he's brought to that side of the ball. But at the end of the day, Ray Allen is number 1 in 3-pointers. So I just had to throw that in there. But back to Paul Pierce. Paul Pierce did have the Finals MVP. He is an NBA champion. He is 4-time All-NBA, and he was a 3-point champion just like Ray Allen as well. So Paul Pierce could definitely light it up from outside. And then if you think about it, Ray Allen was 24th all-time in scoring. Paul Pierce is 16th all-time in scoring. And you have to think, those last few years that he was in the league was just basically a wash, because he didn't even really play when he was with the Clippers and had such a low average. So that's who I have coming in at 29th is Paul Pierce. And the third player that actually comes in, I put at 28th, and I know a lot of you might disagree and might want to say Paul Pierce and Ray Allen would be in front of him. But I saw this guy play his whole career, and you talking about a heart of a champion. And I think he actually could have had more points than Paul Pierce and Ray Allen, as far as being, which he actually did have more points than Ray Allen in his career, but not more than Paul Pierce, because Paul Pierce was 16th, and this person ranks 21st all time. Can you guess who it is? It is the great Reggie Miller. And Reggie Miller, man, please come on 2K, man. Just go ahead and release your image, man, and let them use you so we can play some great throwback teams. Because I'm telling you what, back in the day, on that Sega Genesis and on that young Super Nintendo, even PlayStation 1, when it was all about that NBA Live, before the 2K even came on and everybody was on that live, used to light it up with Reggie Miller. But Reggie Miller, I put at 28th because, as we all know, he's 21st in scoring. Now, I put Reggie Miller, and this is what I'm saying about a team sport and hardware, because as we all know, Ray Allen has championships and Paul Pierce has championships. But I watched all 3 of them, and I'm going to tell you right now, if I had a choice to have any one of them on my team, I'm lacing them up and I'm going out on the court and I'm trying to win. Do you understand what I'm telling you? I want Reggie Miller because he got the heart of a champion. Now, his teams were never better than Jordan's teams. Do you understand what I'm telling you? His teams were never better than Jordan's team. When you talk about a Dale Davis, Antonio Davis, Rick Smits, even the Jalen Rose, you know, you cannot, you really cannot compare that to, you know, a Scottie Pippen, a Michael Jordan, a Ron Harper, a Tony Kukoc, a Dennis Rodman. It just wasn't going to happen, you know. And Reggie Miller, Indiana was just never able to bring in another great bona fide superstar. No shot to Jalen Rose to pair with Reggie Miller. And then at the end of Reggie's career, closer toward the end of his career, when they got rid of Antonio and Dale Davis and brought in Jermaine O'Neal, and Jermaine O'Neal was playing at an all-star level, you could dare say, because the Detroit Pistons with Rip Hamilton and Chauncey Billups did win the finals. Indiana was right there with them with Ron Artest, but we all know the malice of the palace happened. And after that, Reggie Miller decided to hang it up. He didn't want to bring it back, especially with the departure of Ron Artest and them being suspended. But if that never happened, then one would argue that Reggie Miller would maybe have won the championship, because I would have liked his chances. And he would definitely have more points and probably would be right up there passing Paul Pierce. I would say probably number 15, because of the way he hit threes and the way the NBA began to evolve. I think Reggie Miller could have hung around at least 2 or 3 more years. He definitely had a minimum. And man, I'm gonna tell y'all a funny story. Reggie Miller's sister, we all know she can definitely hoop. Cheryl Miller, and she works at TNT as an NBA analyst. And Reggie Miller lived in her shadow for a long time. And I remember when Reggie Miller was young, he thought he had did something because he had scored 50 points in high school, and he was on his way home and he was all open and this and that. But then, you know, he said, I scored 50. And they said, man, are you that Miller kid? And he was like, yeah, you must have heard about my 50. They was like, no, your sister, she dropped 70 tonight. And he was like, oh my God. So he could just never get out of her shadow. I think that's funny. If you ever hear Reggie Miller tell the story, he tells it a lot better than me. But anyway, I'm telling you right now, if y'all, especially the young people who listening, if you never watched Reggie Miller, you go take a chance and you look at Reggie Miller and you look at the game he had in the Garden when it was the Knicks who was supposed to advance, and you saw Reggie Miller score, 9 points in 10 or 15 seconds. Stole the ball, hit the 3, was fouled, hit the free throws, came back, hit another 3 for the game, and gave Spike Lee the famous choke shot. So let's not forget, Reggie Miller, you know, led teams to the finals. When he didn't have much of teams, he led teams to the finals. Let's not forget, he did make it to the finals once Jordan and his great team was broken up, and he made it to the finals, but he ran into Kobe and Shaq. So here we are again when they were undermanned. And, you know, as much as I hate to say this, there were some calls in that series that went the Lakers' way. I really think that series could have been tied 3-3, but ultimately that series ended up being 3-1, or it would have been 3-2 either way. But at the end of the day, Reggie Miller is one of the all-time greats. And like I said, you know, he still is 21st all-time in scoring. He could easily be, you know, higher than that, but he did hang him up just a little bit early. So there you have it. Reggie Miller at number 28. At number 27, we have one of my favorite players of all time, the great Allen Iverson. So we know what Allen Iverson, you know, meant to the culture of basketball, the way he changed things, the way he gave people their style and all these different things. But at the end of the day, I mean, I know all you youngsters know about his crossover on Jordan, which was one of his iconic moments. But at the end of the day, what I remember most about Allen Iverson is him just being the ultimate soldier, him just being pound for pound, the ultimate warrior, not afraid to take punishment, not afraid to do anything and just go to the paint with reckless abandon, get punished time in and time out, but still went to the paint no matter how hard he would get hit, and just always hit timely shots, and was just a soldier all the way together. And the reason why I would definitely put AI in front of the other three players that I just mentioned is AI averaged 27 points a game for his career, 6 assists and 4 rebounds. For a guy at his size to average 27 points a game is tremendous, especially as a point guard. And as a point guard who could score that more, and people want to say he was selfish. I know he doesn't have the greatest field goal percentage, but if you still giving me 6 assists a game, then we talking big. And that's, and I'm not even mentioning the off years he had with Memphis and, the years, of course, when he went overseas. I hate the way that he went out like that, but, they was a force to be reckoned with when AI was in Denver, as well as when he was in Philly. And they even went to a finals against a heavily favored Lakers team and came in there and stole the first game. But, of course, we all know Allen Iverson had Aaron McKee, And you know what? There's somebody else that I left off this that I just thought of. Just very honorable mention. No, I don't want to give it away. I won't say it. I say it maybe at the end. You guys leave some comments and tell me what you think about this. I'm almost about to wrap this up, but like I said, AI definitely could be higher, but I got him at number 27 for a reason, because he wasn't always the most accurate shooter. He was a high volume shooter, but at the end of the day, he is over those other players, because we know AI was 11-time All-Star and 2 times All-Star MVP. So when he went to the All-Star game, he showed out. He was a 3-time first team, 7-time All-NBA if you look at it. And of course, he was a 4-time scoring champion. And that's something Ray Allen, Reggie Miller, nor Paul Pierce ever did, was be a scoring champion. So if you are that size and you can get a 4-time scoring champion, then needless to say, we know Allen Iverson was more than capable of putting the ball in the bucket, regardless of field goal percentage. If you're a 4-time champion as far as scoring champion, then that's saying something about yourself. And let's not forget his defensive prowess. Allen Iverson had the hands when it came to getting in the lanes and playing one-on-one defense, and he was a 3-time steals leader. If you're a 3-time steals leader and a 4-time scoring leader, then damn it, you're a damn good player. So they better start putting some respect on Allen Iverson's name, and I do have Allen Iverson coming in at 27. And I know a lot of y'all might be thinking, well, dang, I haven't heard any new age players on the list yet, anything like that. So I did want to hit y'all with this, and some people might be upset that I had this youngster ahead of AI, ahead of Ray Allen, ahead of Paul Pierce, and ahead of Reggie Miller. It might really surprise y'all who it is, who I'm about to say. But it is. And before it's all said and done, if I do this list 5 or 10 years from now, this player might be all the way up in the top 4 or 5. And a lot of people might not agree, but at the end of the day, I believe it to be fact. And that person is no other than Giannis Antetokounmpo. And the reason why I say this is, you got to think about it. Giannis came in the league, he started off slow. But just over the course of the past 4 years, he has given you 28 points a game. 28 points a game over the past 4 years, 11 rebounds and 6 assists a game. So if somebody can get you 28, 11, and 6, then that's something. 28, 11, and 6, and he's just now hitting his peak. So I don't see that slowing down anytime soon. I think he's going to dominate the East for a very long time. And I know the Brooklyn Nets have something to say about that. And I know another team, the Miami Heat, which we'll talk about them maybe next week or something like that as we get into closer to the season. But I think they'll have something to say about that too. But Giannis right now ranks 248th all-time in scoring in the NBA. But he's only been in the league, 7 or 8 years? But the way he's averaging, if he can keep that up for the next 4, 5, 6 years as he's in his prime, and even anywhere close to that afterwards, then you're talking about he's going to be in the top 5, 6, 7 all-time in scoring. He already has the hardware as a finals champion and a finals MVP, even though there were a lot of injuries. I'm not putting an asterisk by that, because you play who put in front of you, and guess what? He did what he had to do. Brooklyn had some unfortunate injuries. Of course, the Lakers had some unfortunate injuries. Of course, Atlanta, Trae Young had an unfortunate injury, but at the end of the day, what he's capable of doing, and like I said, if I wanted to start a franchise, and I put a lot of thought into those sort of things. So would I rather have a Ray Allen, a Paul Pierce, or a Reggie Miller over Giannis Antetokounmpo, then I think I would rather have Giannis, because I think he's just now starting to unlock his full potential, and I really see something great in his future. And I really think he's gonna pile up the numbers. And of course, he's pretty young in the tooth. So as these other players start to retire, players like LeBron James, Kevin Durant, James Harden, Westbrook, as all these players get older, I think that he has a great. I think he's in a great place as far as what he can do before it's all said and done. He, like I said, he's already been a 2-time MVP. And that's more than I can say for the other players that I mentioned: Reggie Miller, Paul Pierce, and AI. And AI I know was an MVP, but he wasn't. Giannis has already been an MVP twice, and he's averaging 28, 11, and 5. Even though that's not his career average, but that's his average for the past 4 years, and I expect that to be around the same. Now, at the end of the day, this is just my list. I know some may disagree, but what I would like for you to do is go to the comment section. Let me know if you agree with my 30 through 26. Maybe let me know who you think is going to be on the list for tomorrow. Matter of fact, let me know who you think is going to be on the list for tomorrow when I do 25 through 20. And I do plan on getting this done this week. And maybe by Monday we'll do 5 through number 1. But I do take this seriously when I don't just go throwing names out there. So I did, put some thought into those players, all of whom which I just named. So at the end of the day, feel free to agree or disagree, but that's just who I have. So with all that being said, as always, it's been your boy B New. I want to say right on to the real, and much love to these haters. I'm out.